Okay, this is the night before, this is last night actually. Just want to go over a couple problems with you all, and then I'll let you guys work on these in class. And so they should all have a pencil out, and they should have their notes out. And we're going to go through the front, and then you guys get to work on the back on your own. And what you don't get done is homework. So if you'll walk around, make sure they're not doing the back, that they're actually taking notes. All right, so the first one, we've got Roberto is able to mow 1/3 of a customer's lawn in 45 minutes. What portion of the lawn can he cut in 1 hour? So now let's go back and underline important information. So he can mow 1/3 of a customer's lawn in 45 minutes. And the question is, what portion of the lawn can he cut in 1 hour? So we know we're going to need some ratios here, but first of all, we need a variable. So what portion of the lawn? So how about if we let P equal the portion of the lawn that he can cut? So we already know that he can do 1/3 of the lawn in 45 minutes. And I'm going to put lawn up here because here in the units we have to match our units side by side with our ratios. So 1/3 of the lawn in 45 minutes, and then we want to know what portion of the lawn we don't know, but we want to know what portion he can do in 1 hour. So we got to put our time next to time and our portion next to, or the portion of the lawn next to portion of the lawn. We have a problem though. We have minutes for this unit, and then we have hours here. But 1 hour is the same thing as 60 minutes. So we can just put 60 minutes down here instead of an hour. So now we have to solve for P. So just like all of our other proportion problems, we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to take 1/3 times 60, and we're going to say P times 45, or in algebraic terms we say that's 45P, which means to multiply. So now I can multiply 1/3 times 60. Remember, that's like dividing 60 by 3. If you don't believe me, put 60 over 1, and we can divide a 3 out of the denominator, 3 out of the numerator, and so we're left with just 20 over 1, or 20. So now I'm going to come up over here and put 45P, so I'm running out of room, is equal to 20. And so now I have to solve for P. So to solve for P, I want to divide this side by 45, because that'll give me 1P, or P alone. And so I also have to divide this side by 45. So P, the portion of the lawn that he can cut, is 20/45, but we can reduce that. We can divide out a common 5 out of the numerator and denominator, which would be 4/9. Now when you say, well, how much of the yard is 4/9? Well, 4/8 would be half, and if you're only going to do 4/9, that's going to be a little less than half. So he can do a little less than half the lawn. All right, and feel free, to stop this anytime during the video if somebody needs to get something copied down. You can rewind too. All right, so the second part, the second example, is really just the second part of this problem. They're going to say, well, from the information in the example above, so we have that underlined, how long will it take him to cut the entire lawn? All right, so we're going to use the same ratio as before. We know he can cut 1/3 of the lawn in 45 minutes. But this time we want to know how long it will take him. So how long, that's going to be time. So I'm just going to put T for time. And so time goes with the minutes, so we're going to put T down here. And he wants to cut the entire lawn, which means one lawn. So we're going to put one lawn. Oops. And again, now we want to cross multiply. So this time we're going to take 1/3 times T. So 1/3 times T. And that will be equal to 1 times 45. Well, we all know 1 times 45 is 45. So I'm going to let you go ahead and just write 45 there. Now we have to solve for T. That means we have to get T alone. So this 1/3, we can either divide both sides by 1/3, but dividing by 1/3 is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal, which is 3/1. And when I divide out those 3's, I get t alone. But remember, whatever I do to one side of an equation to keep it balanced, I have to do the other. So instead of multiplying by 3 over 1, I can just multiply by 3. And 3 times 45, well, 3 times 40 is 120. 3 times 5 is 15. So 120 plus 15 is 135 minutes. And most customers would be like, well, what's 135 minutes? Come on, do the math for me. So if we do the math, 135 minutes, we can convert that to hours by dividing by 60 minutes in an hour. So if we divide by 60, 60 will go into 135 twice. 2 times 60 is 120. And then I have 15 left over, so that's like 15 over 60. Well, that's in minutes, so that means 2 hours and 15 minutes. So 2 hours, 15 minutes. And again, it didn't tell us to put it in hours and minutes, so if you left it like that, unless they asked you to, I would accept that answer. All right, so now we're going to go to the last question, or the last example, I'm sorry. And this one is about Tanya. Okay, and Tanya can walk 3/10 of a mile in 1/10 of an hour. How far can she walk in 1 3/4 hours? So we're going to say she could walk 1/3 of a mile in 1/10 of an hour. And then how far can she walk in 1 3/4 hours? So again, we need a ratio. And before we do that, let's get our variable. How far can she walk? So how about we let that be distance? So let D equal the distance she walks. So when we set up our ratio, we need to make sure we label and put our units so that we can match them up side by side just like we did on the last problem. So we know she can go 3/10 of a mile in 1/10 of an hour. You know what 1/10 of an hour is? Take an hour and divide it by 10. 60 minutes divided by 10, 6 minutes. It's 1/10 of an hour. Okay, equals, well, how far she can walk. Well, this is miles, so we're going to put D next to the miles. And then hours, we don't, yeah, we do know it's 1 3/4 of an hour. So now we're ready to solve. So we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to take 3/10 times 1 3/4. So we can just say that 1 3/4 is the same thing as 1.75. So if we do 3/10 times 1.75, and on the other side we have D times 1/10, which will be 1/10 D. And now we're going to multiply 3/10 times 1.75, which is, let's see, 0.525, so 525 thousandths. And we've got 1/10 D on this side. So now we can divide both sides by 1/10. So D is equal to, and well, that's going to be 5.25 miles. And that's the same thing, 0.25, that would be the same thing as 5 1/4 miles. We could have kept our decimals, turned our decimals into fractions and done it that way. If you do that, you would get the same thing. For those of you who'd like to see that, if we did 3/10 over 1/10 equals D over, and that's going to be 4 plus 3 is 7/4. Then I would cross multiply, and I would do 3/10 times 7/4 is equal to 1/10 D. There's nothing I can cancel, so that'll be 21/40 equals 1/10 D. I can multiply both sides by 10, which is the reciprocal of 1/10, and 10 over 1, that's a 10 over 1, they divide out, so I can multiply by 10 over 1 over here. So I can divide a 10 out of the numerator and denominator and get 21/4. So if I have D equals 21/4, 21 divided by 4 will go 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20, and 1/4. So you get the same answer, miles, either way. All right, so you're going to finish the back side of the assignment in class. Do as much as you can. Whatever you don't get finished is homework. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.